and sit down with BKRsport. We are back here for another NRL position tier maker. And today, guys, we are going to be doing the hookers. I'm very keen for this one. I'm very keen for everyone, to be honest with you. I say that every time, but it's just because I'm so excited for the rugby league season to get back and start it up again. I'm super keen for it. It's been a long off season, man, as per usual. Actually, longer than last year's, just to remind everyone. But yeah, look, the hookers obviously integral, probably my number one position about why a team kind of runs the way it does. I think obviously the halves are great and all, the fullbacks are great and all, but the hooker, he's actually the first one to touch the ball and get it to who he wants to get it to. So yeah, look, I'm super keen to do it today. Obviously, we do not do this by ourselves. We do have another content creator here, and we've got the Weekly Rubdown Podcast. How are we doing, champion?
Yeah, good, brother. Thanks for having me on. Keen to get stuck in. It's going to be a little bit different for me trying to differentiate the Supercoach stats to the real life stuff, but I'll be right, bro. I'll handle it.
Yeah, well, it's all just about opinions, and this is just something for everyone out there as well. We are going to have a different opinion to you. You know, if we say somebody's in equality and you feel like they're going to do the job, we're not wrong, you're not wrong, we're right, you're right. It doesn't really matter. This is all down to opinion. So do comment in the comment section below what your thoughts are. But let us know what you do, man. Like, what do you do in the NRL community?
Yeah, so myself and a mate, Wooker, we run a podcast and an Instagram page, or Twitter as well, but mainly on Instagram, called the Weekly Rubdown, and we just cover NRL Supercoach, but mainly Supercoach Draft. And look, we created the podcast to try and grow draft as a format, try and get it as popular as Classic is. And we're just pumping out content, man. It's a real busy preseason. Preseason's where we do most of our work. We're pumping out a lot of podcasts, a lot of content. And we just have fun with it. Just crack tinnies, talk footy, and talk about our fantasy football teams.
You gotta love that, man. I'm obviously a big American sports fan, whether it be NFL, NBA, baseball, the lot of them. So I understand the draft concepts really well, and I really love that you guys are focusing on the Supercoach in the Australian rugby league draft section, because I don't think it gets that much love because Australians don't necessarily understand it as much as I guess the world does in regards to how they do it over there in America. But yeah, man, obviously this here today, I think it even relates, to be honest with you, man, because obviously the points that you get in Supercoach directly relate to the points that you get, or how good of a player is, I guess.
100%. Yeah, it's a really good gauge. Obviously, you're getting points for tackles, runs, tackle breaks, line breaks, tries. So usually, if you've got a really good Supercoach score, you've had a rip snorter of a game. So yeah, it does correlate.
Yes, absolutely. Alrighty, well, if you guys don't know what this is, guys, we do elite quality, do the job, not that great, and unproven. Now, like I said, you're going to have a different opinion, so let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts are. If a player is watching, do know, we appreciate you, man, but do know if we put you in not that great, it is because we feel like you've probably got a little bit more to do to get back to the level that we know you can be at. Obviously, we know that you being in the NRL means that you are a good player. You are in the top 16 players in the country, and even New Zealand and the islands and whatnot, so we understand.
A lot better than us, bro.
Well, mate, speak for yourself. No, I'm joking. But yeah, we understand that you're good. Just understand that it's giving you a bit of motivation. But I reckon we should get underway here, man. And
nice.
Do you have it? Yeah, exactly right. Crack a tinny. Let's get into it. But first up here, we do move on to Andrew McCullough for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. So he was obviously at the Brisbane Broncos originally. Now he's at the Dragons. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, look, he's a bit of a tackle bot. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth, Macca. So in 2021, had 48 tackles a game. That's nothing to scoff at. Gets through his work. Got a really good high efficiency rate with the tackles as well, which is really important. Good service out of dummy half. I just think he lacks that sort of upside and that, taking opportunities out of dummy half. He's more like, you just stock standard hooker that's getting through his work, really dependable, and you'll probably see him kind of be phased out of the Dragons team this year. You'll have Bud Sullivan on the bench. He'll probably wear the 14. So you'll see Andrew McCullough go from an 80-minute player to probably a 60-minute player as he brings through these young blokes. But really dependable.
Yeah, look, I think that for me, I would say that he is one of those guys who is the epitome of a do the job, but I think it's an upper end to do the job at that. I think a couple of years ago at the Broncos, and even to an extent you could say his quality now, but I just think, he's obviously not a young pup anymore. He's at the Dragons, which is more of a kind of focused on how many tackles that he's going to be going rather than his attack, because the Dragons aren't obviously great at the moment. I agree with you. I think maybe, should we chuck him and do the job?
I think so, mate. That's perfect for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, he's just, for me, the epitome of that kind of player. And I do think he's upper end of do the job, however. But next up here, let's move on to the Penrith Panthers here with my boy Tosovidi Apisai Koroisau from the Panthers. I love the way he plays, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, big on Api Koroisau. Obviously a smaller bloke, built a little bit closer to the ground, gets through a fucking mountain of work in defence for a little bloke. His tackle efficiency is really good, but he takes those opportunities at the dummy half as well. So, slow markers, the A defender coming out a little bit too quick. He's in behind there, super quick off the mark. But the way he runs is really effective because he's almost like a boxer, ducking, weaving, and blokes are just swinging, just trying to get him, and he's always making those tackle breaks and line breaks. Big on him. I think he is the triple threat, gets good service out of dummy half, defence work is great, and he's got that footy IQ and sort of capitalises on the opportunities in attack as well.
Yeah, I think he's at the perfect team as well, because obviously the Panthers are a very fast team. They're a very energetic team that have been for a few years now, ever since, the Gussie Gould plan has turned that club around. And I think that Apisai Koroisau as a player going into that number 9 area is for that team is just phenomenal. I think that at Manly, he was a completely different player. I still think he tried to be the player that he was here, but I don't think it ever really worked out necessarily at Manly, and now at the Panthers it is something that really benefits his game too. But I will ask you the question, obviously last year he did have a few situations and whatnot. Do you think that has impacted his game whatsoever?
I think it impacted his game last year. I think, that's in the rearview mirror now. He'll be focusing on the Panthers and then obviously moving on to the Tigers in 2023. I will say that some of these guys that we'll talk about, they're closely linked to their forward packs.
Yeah.
If you've got a really strong forward pack that's got a lot of go forward, that get their team on the front foot, create space, get quick play the balls, you're going to have a better attacking hooker. So you look at the Panthers forward pack, just a supreme forward pack. Got a lot of go forward. They usually win the middle third of the field, which gives Api Koroisau a lot of space and attack. So we'll sort of talk about a few guys where if their forward pack was better, maybe they'd have more attacking opportunities.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, I'm happy to probably chuck him into... I'd probably be happy to chuck him into elite, man. I don't think he'll be 100%. The number 1, but I think he'll definitely be an elite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right.
I agree, mate.
Let's chuck him in. All righty, next up here, we will be going to the Cronulla Sharks. Now, I believe Blayke Brailey is actually injured right now, if I'm not mistaken. But or is that Jayden Brailey?
Jayden Brailey's got an Achilles injury. Blake's sweet.
Dude, I tell you what, I get these guys confused all the time. It's ridiculous, and I'm so sorry to Blake and Jayden, but every single time I just it's because they're both the same position but at different clubs. It was
even harder when they were both at Sharks.
Yeah, exactly right. But Blayke Brailey, obviously, I think he's a pretty decent player. I don't think that he's been able to show anything crazy just yet, but I still think he's got a lot of time left to show it.
Yeah, he's popcorn in the pan at the moment, waiting to pop, because everyone that I've talked to that's in the know talk about him in the younger grades, that he really does have a lot of attacking flair, and we haven't seen it in the NRL as of yet. Look, gets his job done, really good in defence, and the times that I've seen him skirt out a dummy half or use the big boppers close to the line, it's been slick. I just think we haven't seen the potential that we're waiting for with Blayke Brailey. I think it will happen eventually, and we'll be like, holy shit, this bloke is a weapon. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, look, I find it hard to rank him right now because I feel like he definitely has that potential to be in that quality section. I wouldn't necessarily say he has a ceiling of maybe an elite, in my opinion. I think he's a very fast player, and I think he will get the job done with the Sharks, and especially with the Sharks now, they are a completely different team to what they were in 2016, where they were so defensive-minded, they were structured. Now it is, they're bringing in Nico Hines. They've got, even though that's probably a Melbourne Storm structural kind of benefit there, but Craig Fitzgibbon's going to come in, whole new structure. They've got Ikavalu, who they might be putting onto the wing there. We're not too sure. Their whole team is quite pacey, and I think that's exactly what benefits a hooker, and that's why McCullough has kind of come down a little bit, and I think that's why I personally, if I'm taking a draft right now, I'm still probably going to take Blayke Brailey over Andrew McCullough because of the potential and the pace of the game.
I totally agree. And look, if we're looking at him right now, I think he's a do-the-job type guy.
Absolutely.
But maybe in a couple of seasons, he might be a quality guy.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to put him above McCullough, though, into the job.
Big time. Yep.
There we go. Alrighty, next up here, and we've got well, I was about to say we've got a couple of Knights players here, but the next one isn't actually. He's gone away from the Knights. But we do have Chris Randall here for the Newcastle Knights. Now, you're going to see a couple of Knights boys on this list. Obviously, the brother of Blayke in a moment. The reason being is because Jayden Brailey is out, as we just mentioned, with ACL, I believe it is, which means that he's pretty much out for the year. That is one of the most horrific injuries that you can experience in professional sport. And Chris Randall, fortunately for him, has benefited from that without being rude by saying that, but it has benefited Chris Randall to come into the team. Look, how long has he played for? I feel like his name has been around the joint for a few years now, but he's never actually gotten a chance to come in.
Yeah, so 4 games in the NRL. Played a couple of 80-minute games, but really defensive-minded hooker. I mean, I think his debut, he made 72, 73 tackles, something ridiculous like that. So he's a tackle bot. But if you dive into the stats a little bit further, he also had 1 try and 2 assists. So he does have that attacking mind as well. We don't have a really big sample size, so look at him in the top grade. He has been sort of struck with injury the last couple of seasons, which sort of hampered his sort of development coming through NRL. But I think, mate, he's very dependable. I think he'll get big minutes now that Jayden Brailey's out. You might see Kurtman rotate into the middle there and give him a rest at points, but I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 80 minutes for the Knights and gets through a mountain of work. And look, with those big boppers that the Knights have, the Saifidi twins, you got Clemmer, you got Mitch Barnett, they'll probably play lock, Tyson Frizzell on the edge, so they've got a lot of go forward, which might create space for him. So, look, at the moment, he's a little bit unproven, but yeah, I'm keen to see what he can do if he gets a fair few games under his belt.
Yeah, look, this Knights team is going to be a strange one to watch this year. There's a lot of differences about that Knights team, but they've still got that really solid forward pack. But yeah, look, their halves, obviously, Clune and who's the other one there in the halves right now? Clune and...
It's Clifford.
And Clifford, that's right. And then obviously the 9 is Randall here, and then the fullback is Ponga, which is great. But those other 3, there is arguments for a bit of how you're going there. So yeah, look, I think we'll chuck Chris Randall into unproven. He's only played the 4 games, as you said, so there's nothing we can go off. But yeah, look, this year it's going to be super interesting, especially as a defensive-minded hooker. Though maybe he might be able to shine in this Knights team that will have to do a lot of defense. They're going to have to do a lot of defense.
I agree.
This year. But alrighty, so next up here, we're going to move into one that I got confused with the Knights. Connor Watson here has gone to the Sydney Roosters, was at the Knights, obviously plays 9 and also plays a bit of 13. Do you think he's going to be the starting player, or do you think he might go into that number 14 role?
Connor Watson. Now, I've got a hard on for this guy, big in Supercoach. I think he's going to have a fantastic season at the Roosters. He'll no doubt start at 9. But I think once all the troops are back from suspension and injury, he'll go back to the bench as a 14. I think that's why they bought him. They bought him as an impact player. That's the way the Knights used him. I think that's the best way to use him, to be honest, because, that number 14 isn't just a bench role anymore. It's just as important as 1 to 13 for the blokes on the field. And he's the type of guy that can play lock, hooker, fullback. Pretty much, you put him at front row, he'll have a go. He can play anywhere, which is your perfect ideal number 14 on the bench.
Absolutely.
And I think he'll provide that spark coming off the bench, especially once the sting's taken out of the game, the big boys have done the work, he'll come on, he might play a bit of hooker, scooting out a dummy half, creating some damage there, or he might rotate through lock, give Radley a rest, and just be that support player. But I'm expecting big things. I think they'll get the best out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. The Roosters are the team that can get the best out of him. Obviously, we do have Sam Verills here that will come a little bit later on, which is probably... Is he suspended or out for the first couple of games, is he?
I think so, off the top of my head. I think, yeah. I can't remember.
I'm not too sure, but I think that the Roosters seem like they're pretty keen on just maintaining Verills there. So that's why I agree with you that he probably will end up in that 14 role, which is no detriment because he will come in and he will just, for you Supercoach guys out there, he will come in and he'll just get points like bing, 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 100%. Bing, 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 bing. So yeah, super excited to see what he does at the Roosters. But where would you put him though? Are you wanting to put him in quality, or are you thinking more top end to do the job?
I'm thinking quality just because of the attacking upside that he presents. Do you know what I mean? You'll see him, yeah, he'll get through some defensive work. He'll be pretty solid with his delivery, but what you're getting out of him is that attacking prowess. You know, he's going to be backing up, he's going to be scoring tries, he's going to be making line breaks. Really busy player. And I mean, we could sort of say that, do we value him a little bit more because he's versatile?
Mm. I think, yeah, look, the reason for me, which I will agree with you in lower end quality, is that I also think that with the Roosters, he'll become even better of a player. I
Yeah,
think
I
that
agree.
if he was at the Knights, I would probably be stronger of an argument for top end to do the job. But with
Yep.
the Roosters, I think I think he'll have a really good year, like you've been saying. And yeah, I'd back him in for a lower end quality just because it is still before the year starts. We haven't got anyone in there just yet. But yeah, I'd probably throw him into lower end quality. So you agreeing?
Keen. That's
There
good.
we go. Alrighty. Next up here, I don't think there's many arguments here. We've got Damien Cook from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, before you jump in here, obviously, Apisai Koroisau, I love how he plays, and a lot of people are more high on him than Cookie. But, man, I tell you what, for me, I'm absolutely taking Cook every day of the week over Koroisau. And that's no disrespect to him at all, but I just love the pace of this man, the way he thinks about things, the way he goes about things, whether for New South Wales or even for Australia. Just everywhere that he does it, man, he's just so phenomenal to watch. So, yeah, I'd personally be putting him above Api Koroisau here.
Yeah, straight in the elite category, and he's the best hooker we've talked about so far. Over the last couple of seasons, we've seen the South Sydney Rabbitohs have a sort of different approach to attack where, their forwards haven't been as dominant as they want it to be, so they've been quite a side-to-side team, sideline to sideline, really capitalising on Walker and Latrell Mitchell and some of these outside backs and the weaponry that they have out there, which is sort of taken away from Cook's game a little bit. But I will say this year, in 2022, they're going to simplify things. They've got this young bloke, Lachlan Ilias, in there. They're going to simplify things, be an up-the-guts team. They're going to try and win that middle of third of the field, and you'll see Cook get out of dummy half a lot more, and you'll see like a bit of a resurgence of that old Damien Cook that we used to see where he just made all the yards up the guts when, the defenders were tired and sort of lacking in their marker play. He came out, I forget where it was, I saw it on Twitter, but he came out and said that, with those dominant halves that he's had in the side with Walker and Adam Reynolds, he sort of took a back seat, just wanted to give good delivery to those guys. But now with this young kid coming in, he's going to take a bigger role in the side, and you'll see him do a lot more running. I can't say enough about this guy. He is the triple threat: delivery, defense, footy IQ, bro.
Absolutely. I think that's wrapped it up pretty much there, man. Top of elite for now. And
Yep.
probably could say that we could, obviously, it'll be a discussion whether he stays in first or goes down in second. But look, he's a fantastic player, Damien Cook. But next up here, we've got my boys here in the Gold Coast Titans. And we move on to Erin Clark. Now, you said you're from the Gold Coast. Are you a Titans fan?
No, I'm originally a North Sydney Bears fan. So
Okay.
that's where my heart lies.
Yeah.
So I never can really invest in any other team. I do go for the Roosters because the Bears are the feeder team for the Roosters.
Okay.
But yeah, I go and watch the Titans play every now and then. But I can't fully give my heart to another team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. It's very similar with me in other sports and whatnot. But look, I think that I think this is going to be an interesting one to talk about because I know a lot of people don't really necessarily rate Erin Clark a great deal. But man, and he's not even guaranteed as the number 9 spot there at the Gold Coast Titans. There is another man we'll speak about in a second. But with Erin Clark, man, I'll just quickly say I actually really do appreciate what he does as an underrated player there for the Titans. I don't think he's anything crazy special like an elite or even to an extent of quality, but I definitely wouldn't be putting him in not that great because I think that he just tries so damn well hard, man. I think he really does help this team out. Yes, look, obviously I understand that's probably the position for the Titans that is kind of holding them back from being that next big thing. But I really think that with this young core, I spoke to Toby Sexton on the channel the other day, and we were speaking basically about that spine there with Jayden Campbell, AJ Brimson, literally who I just spoke to, Toby Sexton, and number 9 there in Erin Clark. I actually think it's going to be a lot better than people do assume this year. So I'm a Titans fan. I'm a bit biased, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, first of all, I think he's in the wrong position. I think he's a lock. He's a big boy. He's 98 kilos. He could handle the work at lock on his head. But also, the game's moved away from those big boppers at lock that just churn through the work. You want ball playing locks. He has the hands for it. I don't know why they're not using him at 13 and bringing Aaron Booth on as a 9. They bought Aaron Booth from Storm. He's a very good player. He is a 9, Aaron Booth. I know we'll talk about Tanah Boyd later, but Tanah Boyd's a half. So if I had control of the team, I would have Aaron Booth at 9. I would have Erin Clark at 13. And then I'd probably keep Tanah Boyd as that sort of impact player at number 14. But as far as a hooker goes, yeah, he's either do the job or not that great. I mean, he does get through his tackles. I'm not big on his service out of dummy half. I have seen him sort of a couple of passes go to ground and sort of not getting his team on the front foot. And that's your meat and potatoes as a hooker. You want to be giving your halves the ball out in front so they can make decisions on the run, inside ball, drop it on the boot, cut out ball. That's your meat and potatoes. That's 101 as a hooker. And sometimes he lacks in that area. So I get you, though. Really enthusiastic player. Puts in for the team. Just
doesn't necessarily work all the time.
Just the finesse, bro. You know, that finesse that hookers need? He just doesn't have it. That's why I really love him as a lock.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree, but I think that obviously with the Titans forwards, the forward pack is the big one for the Titans. And the number 13 role is probably going to be Fa'asuamaleaui this year. Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, with obviously the 10 being Jared Wallace and Moeaki Fotuaika, and then
or even Isaac Liu.
And Isaac Liu, sorry, so not Jared Wallace. Jared Wallace go to the bench. Isaac Liu alongside Jared Wallace there, you would assume. And Tino's obviously the number 13. There's no way that Tino would be coming out of that lock position at 13. So realistically, especially with him being captain now, but realistically, Clark would probably be the only position that he can fit himself into right now is that number 9. But yeah, look, I'm happy to put him below McCullough. I think that he's probably got a bit more pace than McCullough, but in the same sense, I'm happy to put him below McCullough and do the job.
Yeah, I agree, mate.
There we go. Alrighty, next up here, let's move to the Melbourne Storm, and this is the one that I think there'll be maybe a bit of debate about. It's Harry Grant. What are your thoughts on Harry? Obviously, big-time player for Queensland and also the Melbourne Storm, and both those teams, well, maybe not Queensland right now, but still fantastic player.
Yeah, I'm big on him, and for me, he goes top of the pile, mate. I'm really big on Harry Grant. Obviously, probably has maybe a couple more seasons in him to be a proven gun, but I just see so much potential in him. And the games that he's come on, I mean, he only averaged 59 minutes last season. And the impact that he had on that Storm team when he came on, after the Cheese took the sting out of the game and he came on, and I just love the way he approaches every play of the ball. You see him, he approaches the play of the ball, he's got his head on a swivel, he's looking for the next attacking play. He's always attack first and then delivery second. I love that about him. We saw it when he played for the Maroons, when he came on and played that short stint, flipped the game on its head. And it takes a special player to do that in that arena. Yeah. He's a big body, really robust, quick for a guy that size, which means he gets through a lot of work in defence. But it's the footy IQ for me, man. I think we're only just scratching the surface of that footy IQ.
Yeah, I think I think we know what we're going to see from Damien Cook, which is what is the benefit to Grant, that Grant can be considered on his level, but yet we still don't know as much as can possibly come from Harry Grant. So I would agree with you in regards to going top of elite. I know I'm massive on Cookie, but in the same sense, like Grant, he's just got so much unseen talent as well, which is ridiculous. But you go back and have a look at that Tigers team. Obviously he took them to literally the brink of the 8 with their favourite position in number 9, and then Tigers fans got this real weird sense of entitlement, like they were going to make the 8 next year, but they forgot that Harry Grant was leaving, and then Harry Grant left, and look where the Tigers ended up, obviously. So I like Dewey and whatnot, but in the same sense, Harry Grant was absolutely the pivotal.
It was massive. He was massive. I mean, I remember one of his last games, he got a rest towards the end of the game, and they gave him a standing ovation as he left the field.
Yeah, I know.
And the Tigers knew that they weren't going to keep him. That's how much he made a difference in that team. It was crazy, man. He's wild. He's such a crazy player.
It is actually ridiculous how well he did there at the Tigers. And like you said, as well with Queensland, he's just such an impact player, and he can be an impact player for 80 minutes. Like, he can be an impact player for the entire time, realistically. He's such a good player, man. So, yeah, I'll put him in number 1 there, and same with you. Next up here, we're going to move on to the Tigers here. Yeah, we're going to actually speak about the Tigers here, and we've got Jacob Liddle here. Jacob Liddle, what are your thoughts on Jacob? Has he been able to reach the heights of Harry Grant?
No, nowhere near it. But look, he's had a really tough run with injuries, Jacob Liddle, and I like him as a player because he does have that sort of triple threat. He is quite smart out of dummy half, has a lot of attacking upside, gets through a mountain of work in defence. He is sharing minutes. He's not that 80-minute hooker. I know he can do it. I know he can play 80 minutes, but you've got Simpkin, I think, there, vying for a spot in the hooker. You've obviously got Peachy as well in the side at the moment. He's probably going to steal some minutes as well. Look, I don't know. I really thought I'd see more out of Jacob Liddle by now, because in the younger grades, he was just a weapon, an absolute weapon. So
I have heard that, yeah.
I don't know exactly where to put him. I want to put him in quality, but I think we've got to put him in do the job. I think he doesn't belong in not that great because
I wasn't even looking towards quality. So if you don't want to put not that great, I'd be putting. I would still be putting him, for me anyway. I'm not a big fan. I thought last year was his year to prove himself a lot more. I think he had a lot more minutes that gave him enough opportunity to show what he could do. And honestly, man, on a personal level, I would be putting him in not that great. I think that he did. I don't think he did a great job last year. That's not me saying that he can't. I think that he definitely has the ability to, like you said. That I've heard a lot of people say that he was really good as a younger bloke, but he's come into this team and look. I know he wasn't really able to do anything in 2020 because Harry Grant was there, but 2021 was his year to shine, man. And
I probably agree with you, man, because I'm probably biased in the sense that, like, I want him to do well, and it's probably, I don't want to be too harsh on him, but if we have to look at the facts and we have to look at how he played last year, then he's probably not that great.
Yeah, I think we put him there for now, but like if people disagree with that, just understand why we said it. I know a lot of people will skip to the end of the video and just kind of see where we put him, but if you're listening, we're not saying that he is going to be a bad player or is a bad player. We're just saying that, look, he's still got a lot to prove, and last year wasn't his year, so maybe this year. It's the Tigers though, man. It's a tough.
He's a better player than what he's shown us.
Yeah,
I know that much.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll chuck him there and not that great. And use this year, man. Use this year. But next up here, we go to the Brisbane Broncos, and we've got Jake Turpin. Now, just quickly, with the Broncos, obviously my big query with them is that, cool, you've got Reynolds, but your spine's still a bit how you're going overall. They don't really necessarily know who's going to be their 5'8" between Gamble and Kelly. You got your fullback who probably might be testing you, but it could be Selwyn Cobbo. And then you got your 9 here in Turpin. And I'm not a big fan personally, mate.
No, neither am I. I think, look, he's just out there to make his tackles. I don't see anything out of him in his delivery or attack. They're really lacking in their hooker spot. I mean, you might see, I think it's Corey Pakes. He's still in the building for Broncos. They might carry him on the bench. He's more of a 9, Corey Pakes, than Turpin is. And you also might see Kobe Hetherington rotate through hooker as well. So I think they're really just trying to fix this hooker spot with having some rotation there and having some other options. Because Turpin ain't it for me. I'm not a big fan either.
I'd be personally putting him below Liddle.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, big time. No, Liddle's a hooker, like a genuine hooker, where Turpin, I mean, I don't know what he played in his undergrads. I think he played in the halves. Yeah. But I don't think he's a genuine hooker.
I think as well, for me, I think there is a bit of a gap between, and I think this is why maybe we might work our way up to Liddle, maybe going bottom end to the job, because I think there is a bit of gap between Turpin and Liddle in regards to the quality, but that's down to potential, I guess, so maybe not. But I think that we'll put him into not that great, and we'll move on, because anyway. Next up here, we're going to move on to Jayden Brailey here of the Newcastle Knights, obviously Blayke Brailey's brother. It's going to be tough to rank him, man, because obviously he is proven now. He's been there for enough to... Well, how many games has he played now?
Well, I mean, he was the number 1 hooker at the Sharks before he moved to Knights.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's had enough games in the NRL for
I
us
don't know
to get
why
a
I
good
just
look at
completely
him.
gapped it. Of course he did play at the Sharks. Jeez, why I completely...
Yep.
See, this is what I'm telling you. They're both of them. They confuse the shit out of me, man. Like,
Yeah,
it confuses the shit out of me. But it just quickly before you go there, I don't know where to put him based on the fact that he's going to be out for this entire year too.
Yeah, I'm going to base him on what I saw last year. And what we saw last year was a little bit of that attacking upside that, he showed in the younger grades. So when he was at the Sharks and even early on at the Knights, he was just a tackle bot. He was giving good service out of dummy half to his halves and his big boppers, and he was making a mountain of tackles. I mean, out of this list, he's probably the best defender. Yep, okay. Probably.
Yeah,
yep,
probably. I think McCullough makes a lot of tackles as well, but I think defending-wise, it'd probably still Brailey, yeah.
Yep. And so last year, especially at the start of 2021, we really saw what he could do out of dummy half, using the Saifidi twins, even Clemmer as well. Even some of the scoots that he made in the middle of the field when there was a bit of space. So that was really good to see because it was another dimension to his game that we hadn't seen yet. I mean, we'd seen it, when he was coming up through the undergrads, but we hadn't seen it in the NRL. So that was really good to see because, like his brother, we know what they're capable of. And up to that point last season, we hadn't seen either of them show us what they can do in attack. But yeah, no, I'm pretty big on Brailey. I think he's a genuine hooker. He's a smart footballer. He knows how to use the big boys close to the line. He knows how to take opportunities. I mean, maybe bottom end of quality.
I was thinking around his brother, whether it be above or below. I'd probably go above because he's got a bit more experience.
Yep.
I'd probably say, a top end to the job. And we could argue maybe into the quality section by the end of this, obviously. But I think that, I see them both as quite similar in a lot of aspects. But I do think the defence wins it out for Jayden, in my personal opinion. But I think, personally, Blake's attack is something that I enjoy more.
Yeah, and so the difference between them is, so Blayke was touted to be the more attacking hooker. It's just we've seen Jayden show us more in NRL.
Yeah.
Blayke, like I said when we were talking about Blayke, we just haven't seen it pop yet. And it will, we just haven't seen it yet. At the moment, I've seen more attack out of Jayden.
Yeah, no, I agree. So are you agreeing that we chuck him at the top end of the job, or do you really want him to be in the bottom end of quality? I just think that those two guys, there's just positives and negatives for both.
It's very close, bro. Let's put him at the top and do the job, and we'll come back, and we might be able to put him at the bottom end of quality. We'll see where these other guys fall.
Absolutely. Alrighty, next up here we go to the Bulldogs here, and we've got Jeremy Marshall-King. I do get nervous as well going through these without reading down here because some players have gone. Like, obviously, we saw Connor Watson there. He's in a Knights jersey, but he's gone to the Roosters. But Jeremy Marshall-King is definitely still the Doggies, yes?
Yep.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Jeremy? Obviously, he hasn't really been able to get much going, but in the same sense, now has a bit of a better team, but also there is a lot of worries with this new bit of a better team.
Yeah. Look, I mean, he's okay. I'm not big on him. I'm not even sure if he locks down the 9, to be honest, at the Bulldogs. They've got a lot of young blokes coming through. Bailey Biondi, I think that's his name. They've got Turpin on the benches. Yeah, that's him. So they've got a lot of blokes there. I think they've got 4 or 5 blokes that can either play half, 5'8", or hooker. And to be honest, there's a couple of those guys that present a lot more attacking prowess than JMK does. Look, gets through his tackles. We've seen a little bit of his running game the last sort of year or two, but not great. And then, of course, it's hard to sort of... Is that because the Bulldogs were struggling? They had issues in their forward pack as well. Really hard to sort of judge him. But at the moment, I'd say not that great.
I was going to say, I know it's coming, man. I know it's coming. And I'm going to agree. And I would still put him above Turpin, personally, but I'd put him below Liddle, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there's still enough. There's enough there to maybe see that maybe this year, if he does hold down a spot, that he could probably do something. But yeah, I think he's probably got a ceiling of do the job. That's probably about it, really. But yeah, I've definitely got him above Turpin because I'm just not a Turpin fan at all. So we'll chuck him down there into not that great in between Liddle and Turpin. And good luck with the Dogs this year because it's going to be interesting. But next up here, we move on to... Yeah, hopefully. They need to be better. Trent Barrett. Have you seen, by the way, just quickly, have you seen their first 6 rounds?
Yeah, it's a tough start. It does get better though, bro. If they can get through those first 6 rounds, it eases up a lot.
Yeah, but they have Cowboys, Broncos, and then they've got Storm, Manly, Roosters, and Rabbitohs, or something like that. It's just out of control,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Oh, man, I tell you what, good luck, Doggies fans. Good luck, Trent Barrett. But next up here, we move to Joshy Hodgson. Is he still at the Raiders? Because I know there's been a lot of word about him going elsewhere.
Yeah, he's still there at the moment. There was whispers of him maybe moving to the Knights to help them out at their hooker spot.
Yeah.
But no, he's still a Raider. He will be sharing time with Tom Starling at the Raiders, but very good hooker. And when we're talking about those genuine hookers, like where they've come through as young players and they've always played hooker, and the way they understand the game, the way they view the game is from that hooking spot. And that makes a big difference in their play. And at one point, when Cameron Smith was still playing, Josh Hodgson, it was argued that Josh Hodgson had just a bigger impact on his team at the Raiders than Cam Smith had at the Storm. Very smart footballer.
Yeah, look, I think that Josh Hodgson, I would love him at the Titans personally, because that would be a lot of experience inside that key position at the 9. I think he'd be fantastic there. But look, I think his time at the Raiders might be starting to dwindle down with the fact that I think they're believing a lot more in Starling into the future. With that being said, man, I tell you what, Hodgson is a really nice ball player, and personally, I'd be putting him in quality, and personally, I'd be putting him above Connor Watson.
I think so. Yep. And because we're talking about hookers here, Connor Watson isn't a pure hooker.
He's more of a specific 14, let's be honest, with Connor Watson. Like, yes, 13, 9, buddy back row, like you said, but with Hodgson, he's absolutely guaranteed number 9. So, I think we chuck him above in quality there. It's looking like a bit of a strange-ish quality for me, though. I think I definitely agree with it, but compared to other positions where you have, like, some really, really undeniably, like, top tier level, and then you've got that next level, which is elite. But it just feels like a little bit of a strange quality for me at the moment. But it may change. But then again, I don't think the hooker role is overall as incredible as it has been in the past. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've got a couple of blokes that are coming up through the grades here that, might make a big impact. But at the moment, there's a big difference between, the top 2 or 3 guys to the next tier.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. But next on here, let's move on to the Manly Seagulls, and we've got Lachlan Croker. Now, there is a lot of things with Manly that this is their one position as well. Very similar to the Titans in the fact that everyone talks about their hooker role. The Manly side is the exact same, that everyone talks about kind of what's going on with their hooker. Do you believe in Croker? Do you like what Croker does there for Manly? Or are you agreeing with the fact that they probably should be looking to improve that position?
They should look to improve it, but they didn't foresee that Manase Fano was going to do what he did either. They got rid of Apisai Koroisau because they really put their stocks in Manase Fano. And he was going to be the hooker to go forward for the Manly Seagulls. Lachlan Croker is the epitome of do-the-job guy. They've got so much firepower everywhere else in the team. He just needs to make his tackles, get good delivery to the halves, and just be that steadfast middle defensive guy. And that's what he is. I mean, nothing flashy about him. He did sort of share time with Cust, and he will share time with Dylan Walker at the 14 spot as well. If Walker comes on, he'll play lock or hooker, we don't know. But there's nothing flashy about him. There's nothing flashy. And I'm not even sure if he is a true 9 either. I can't remember what he played coming up, but I mean, I'm not high on him. I'm not low on him. I'm a bit meh.
I think you don't even really need to be flashy in this Manly team too, because too much flash will also kind of screw you over a little bit. And they've got Tommy Trbojevic there, they've got Kieran Foran, they've got Cherry Evans, and then even, Hamoli Olukwatu is a really flashy kind of forward. They've also got Josh Schuster, who is the epitome of a flashy player, but in the second row, he probably will move to the halves when Foran goes. But, that whole team, Ruben Garrick and whatnot, tell you what, it's just such a special team, and I think that probably Croker might actually be a good thing for them to really settle them down a little bit in that position. Yeah, but I think that if I was to place him, usually you find with these team makers, there's one player that's the middle, and I think McCullough is the dead smack middle of the tier. And where would you put him? Would you put him above McCullough or below McCullough, or where would you put him in general?
I'd probably. God.
Do you agree with me in that McCullough is the centre?
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, it's hard and I agree that he's the dead centre. He's sort of like the McCullough line, and we're sort of rating guys on whether they're above or below him. But if we're talking about McCullough 2 years ago, I drop him for sure. If we're talking about McCullough in 2022, maybe Croker goes above. We'll go below. I think because McCullough is that true 9.
Yeah, I think he's proven a lot more, maybe, is
Yep.
what we'd say. He's proven a lot more.
Yep.
And, he does have experience behind them as well. And even though Croker does have a bit of experience behind him, it's not like what McCullough has done over the years.
Yep.
And I think that, McCullough could still get through a mountain of work this year as well in 2022 for the Dragons there. So, we'll lean just below and above Erin Clark there. Next up here, we're going to be moving on to the Cowboys, and we have Reece Robson here. Another position at the Cowboys that, they've got a lot of positions they need to sort out, to be honest with you. Good luck, Toddy Payton. But Reece Robson, mate, there's also Jake Granville, who I forgot to put in here. But Jake Granville's also playing a little bit of other positions as well recently. Do you think that Reece Robson will be the starting guy there for the Cowboys?
Yeah, 100%. He'll play the vast majority of the minutes there. You might see Granville come on and play, 10 minutes. Max will be 20 minutes a game for Granville.
Yeah.
And you'll see 60-plus minutes out of Reece Robson. I like Robson. Mate, he's a really good defender. When he hits him, he sticks him. Close to the line, really dangerous. I think he scored 5 tries last year, 6 tries the year before. So he knows his way to the line. Doesn't have that finesse as some of these other guys like Cook, Harry Grant, Apisai Koroisau, but he's a steadfast 9. He's really dependable. And in a team that I probably see coming dead last in 2022, I think they're going to lean on him for a bit of attack.
I feel like you're trying to argue for quality here, but I'm feeling like I definitely have to put him to do the job.
I think so, 100%. I don't think he's a quality player, because the way I view quality is that attacking upside. Like if
absolutely,
you're making
today's game, absolutely.
Yep. If you're making your tackles, you've got good service, but you sort of lack that real attacking upside and that prowess, then you'll be able to do the job. But if you've got that upside, if you're getting your team on the front foot, you're making those scoots, you're making those meters, you're putting blokes in holes, you're a quality or elite.
Are you putting him above? Like, I would be looking more so at Blayke Brailey here and thinking, does he go above Blayke Brailey or does he go below Blayke Brailey there? Because I definitely have him probably, I think maybe above. McCullough is still probably the guy, to be honest with you, where I'm thinking around here. But I think maybe Robson. I don't know, and I'll tell you guys this all the time as well, that if I don't know an unbelievable amount about a player, I will tell you. And I don't know an unbelievable amount about Reece Robson individually. But in the same sense, from what I've seen from him, I would still have him around that Blayke Brailey kind of McCullough area. Would you disagree?
No, I'm happy with that. I would probably have him above McCullough. Blayke Brailey, because it's so
maybe
hard,
the pace of Blayke Brailey though is probably what gets it for him.
Yeah, and if I'm ranking them on what I've seen out of them so far, probably Reece Robson. I'd have him above. But if we're ranking them on what I think they're going to be and who's going to be the better hooker, then I'd go Blayke Brailey.
Well, I think, this is kind of like how we want to do it, man. If we think we want to do it that way or that way, it doesn't really matter. But I think that overall, as a player, maybe we probably should lean more on Blayke because he does have that extra potential there as well. And also, maybe the Sharks are going to have probably better year this year than the Cowboys. And I think a lot of factors probably lean towards Blayke Brailey here. But in the same sense, I guess you could kind of put them on top of each other, really, and put them in.
Let's go Blayke because I think in the end, I think Blayke will be a better 9.
Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. Next up here we go to Reece Mahoney. He is still here with the Eels, but I believe is it the Tigers he goes to? No. Who's he going to in 2023? Or is he still with the Eels? Oh, the Dogs. The Dogs, that's the one,
He's still the Eels.
So, he's still the Eels in 2022.
The Eels for this year.
So, look, I definitely be putting him into quality. We haven't had a great year for him because of the fact that he was injured for a bit of it last year and the Eels were a bit, how you going? And then, did he play? How many games did he play last year?
Mate, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but he struggled with a little bit of injury stuff. I think he had an AC joint that sort of gave him some grief at times throughout the year. But we really saw the best out of Reece Mahoney last year.
Yeah. And 2020 for everyone out there watching.
So on the podcast on the Weekly Rubdown, so we're coming into the 2021 season and we're talking about Reece Mahoney. I was saying, yes, look, he's that, 50 tackles a game. You don't get anything else. He's a tackle bot, yes. But we're saying he does have that attacking upside. We know that he has it in him. And if you want to have a gamble on him, now's the time. Because he's been in the system long enough now. He knows the teams he's in. He knows he's got that 9. And what did we see in 2021? We saw him more attacking. We saw those nice little grubber kicks in behind the line. We saw him darting at a dummy half, putting some of those big boppers over the line. And this is a team. This is a perfect example of a team that has a fantastic forward pack, and their hooker is the beneficiary.
Yeah,
I think he is a dead set quality 9. He's a pure 9. Gets through a mountain of defense. And just because we saw in 2021 that he does have that sort of smarts at a dummy half, definitely puts him in that quality.
he also played. I'm not mistaken here in thinking that he played for Queensland in 2020, didn't he?
I can't remember. I know he was in. He was in the squad, and if it wasn't for Harry Grant, he'd be the Queensland 9.
Yeah, I feel like he might have actually dropped it. I'm not too sure. There might have been something to do with it. You could have played for it. Let us know in the comment section if he did obviously play it. But I think that also with that rep ability there, that it's just unfortunate that Harry Grant's going to be taking that spot off him for probably his career. But I think
he's the Jake friend. The Jake friend to Cam Smith is what he is to Harry Grant.
Yeah, I agree there. So that's going to be unfortunate there for Reed. But I'd personally put him as a number 4 right now, behind, as in quality. But I'd put him above Hodgson and Watson.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Yeah, sweet. Alrighty, there we go. So, Parramatta fans, you'll like that one. Not a lot of Parramatta fans like what I say, because usually I'm telling them the truth about how their team's not exactly fantastic, but they'll at least like that one.
Yeah. They're dangerous, those Parramatta fans.
Oh, mate, when we do our live streams, mate, I'll tell you what. If I don't say Gutho's a top 3 fullback, then they lose their minds, even though he's not. But yeah, exactly right. But we'll move on from Queen Gutho. Next up here, let's move on to Sammy Verills here for the Roosters. Now, tough one as well, because I don't necessarily know. Oh man, I don't know, man. Like, it's the Roosters, such a good team that you always want to put someone better than they probably are because of their team, and same thing goes with the worst teams. But where would you put Verills overall?
He's unproven for me. So he had a run. I think he had an ACL. Not last year.
Did he not play 2020?
And yeah, he didn't play. He was supposed to play, and then obviously 2021 he had like some weird injuries. He had a detached retina at some point as well.
Wow.
That kept him out for most of the season. But from all reports coming out of the Roosters camp, he's a gun. He's a really good player, and they've obviously. And Robbo's come out and said, even with Connor Watson in the side, he's like, no, Verills is my number 9. So for him to say that when they've got Connor Watson there on the bench, means they believe in him. He's obviously a really quality player. I've heard he's super strong, like deceptively strong. But I just haven't seen enough out of him in this Roosters system when they're up and humming to be like, okay, I can really sort of put him in a category. I've got really big hopes for him, and I think he will be good, but I just haven't seen enough out of him.
Yeah, in the individual, and this is the reason why I had those question marks at the beginning, is because in the individual games that I've seen from him, maybe he's also had like that niggling injury that you kind of were just speaking about there. But yeah, because I haven't necessarily from those individual games seen a great deal, but he's another one of those players where I guess the reason why I don't know a unbelievable amount about him is because he hasn't played an unbelievable amount because of the fact of what we've been speaking about here. So yeah, I'm happy to put him unproven there. I will trust in Robbo with whatever he says. You know, I think that you can't not trust that man. And you guys will see on the coaches team maker with Adzi, the fact that you can't, honestly, arguably, he is one of the more guaranteed top tier coaches in the league, because Craig Bellamy does still have a thing around him in regards to 2010 and whatnot. There is also, Wayne Bennett with the when he leaves and things can kind of go downhill from there. But with Trent Robinson, he's just stuck strong and he is just the epitome. So I trust that man. I trust that man with my life.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go. But we'll chuck him into unproven, and I'd put him above Randall. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, so last 3 to go here. Next one is back to my boys, Gold Coast Titans, and we do have Tanah Boyd here. Look, there's probably enough to say that he's more into the halves there. I don't necessarily believe a great deal of him in the hooker. I'm not personally. I think Tanah's a great bloke. I've met him, but I don't personally believe he is maybe NRL level, in my personal opinion, especially at the hooker role.
Yeah, 100%. He's not a hooker. Unless we touched on earlier, he's a half. He actually came through the ranks and he was playing alongside Dave Fifita. So he was feeding Dave Fifita balls. So it's hard to rank him as a hooker because he's just not one.
We could even put him into Unproven, man. That's the thing. Like, we haven't seen him play, but he's not actually play as a hooker. So even though I have a relative negative viewpoint in regards to maybe his ability long-term as a half and just a player in general with the Titans there, I think, we haven't seen enough from him in the 9 to give him that rating, which I probably, we'll chuck him in there. I would personally still put him maybe, like, I don't know much about a great deal unbelievable about Randall, but I would probably lean with Tanah Boyd maybe.
I think I'd probably have Randall over Tanah Boyd because Randall's a hooker.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that argument definitely makes sense there.
Yeah,
maybe it's just the pace of the game that I'm thinking about with Tanah Boyd. But yeah, I agree with you there. Alrighty, next up here, 2 more to go, and we do have Mr. Tommy Starling here. Tommy Starling here for the Raiders. We were just speaking about him alongside Hodgson. Where would you put Starling? Because he's obviously really started to come out of the woodwork since last year, really.
Yeah, and this is another guy where we're talking about potential. Because I think he's going to be an elite hooker. Once Josh Hodgson leaves this club, we might even see it this year. We might see a lot more from Tom Starling because they've put stocks in him. You know, they've let Josh Hodgson go. Tom Starling's going to be their man in 2023. And look, I mean, for potential, I mean, he's a quality hooker. He's in the mold of Damien Cook. He's a little bit, built close to the ground, but he's super quick, super strong. He makes decisions quick at a dummy half, which I like. He darts at a dummy half, or he gets across laterally really quick and then turns guys inside. Really dangerous close to the line. I mean, every time he wants to scoot when they're sort of 2 meters within the try line, he scores. It's just the fact that have we seen enough of him to give him that quality status?
How many games? Do you know, actually, off by heart, do you know roughly about how many games he might have played? Because
in games, he's probably played a fair few. I mean, he would have been coming off the bench the vast majority of last season, just not playing a lot of minutes. And of course, they had Havili as well. But I'm a believer in Tom Starling. He's going to be a fantastic
where
player.
I would lean would probably still around where Hodgson is. And the only reason that I believe what you're saying in regards to Starling could definitely improve more. I think that based on the fact that he's still had such limited minutes and whatnot, that we should probably put him below Hodgson, above Watson, because I just think that, what we've seen from him has been really superior. It has been really quality in those small little time frames that we've gotten to see him in. But I still think that maybe that experience of Hodgson and the fact that we've seen more of him probably puts him above him for now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I talked about it when we did Hodgson. He is a very, very smart footballer. And obviously that's why, they've kept Hodgson on to sort of bring Starling through. He's got a lot to learn from Hodgson. So I totally agree, mate. That's a perfect spot.
Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. Last one here. We move on to the Warriors, and it is Wayde Egan. Look, this is a tough one here because the Warriors are one of those teams where it is just simply tough to shine unless you're a winger or unless you're an outside back, really, because the forwards, for me, have gone relatively downhill overall, even though they've got Blayke. I don't think they've been really getting that absolute smack like they have in the past. And obviously, that's really going to impact on Wayde Egan, as you've been saying here in regards to the hooker role. So what do you think about Wayde Egan there at the Warriors?
If straight off the bat, I think he's a do-the-job guy. He gets through his tackles. I mean, he can be dangerous close to the line. He is a bit of a chalk sniffer. He likes to get out of dummy half when they're in attacking opportunities and try and scoot over. But I haven't seen a lot from him sort of in the midfield where he's sort of making decisions in attack that impacts their movement throughout the field. So, do the job, maybe lower end of do the job.
I still think he's okay. I still think he's okay. I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he's definitely not that great. I think that he's definitely do the job, and he is the epitome in that sense as well. I think maybe I would be a little bit more excited about him than maybe Croker and below McCullough, because I just think that McCullough is such a defensive workhorse, man. And I think that he doesn't get the credit that he probably deserves because of that, and especially in a game that's so fast nowadays. McCullough's kind of the way that he plays doesn't get seen as much as your Harry Grants, your Damien Cooks, your Apisai Koroisau. And then with Wayde Egan, I still think he's got a bit more pace to him and whatnot, but I can't put him above McCullough because McCullough is... And I honestly want to put McCullough above Reece Robson.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we've got to take into account... I mean, it's depending on how you view it. Are we viewing who would you rather have in your team right now, or are we taking into consideration what they've done in the past?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because if we're taking into consideration what they're doing what they've done in the past, then you go McCullough. But I would rather have Reece Robson in my team right now if I was picking a team. Would I have McCullough over Wayde Egan? Probably right now. Because we've got to remember, like, McCullough's, he's a little bit older. That's why
they're
phasing him out of it. Yeah. But if we're taking into consideration what he's done for the game and the consistency that he's shown in this hooker spot, then... yeah, I would have McCullough over Robson and Egan.
Yeah, I think that we'll put him in between him, like he is, as it is. I think Wayde Egan goes below and Robson goes above. That's a tough real area, and I think that's the toughest I've actually felt alongside do the job throughout all this series as well, because it's just like they are all very, very similar in a lot of those aspects. But that is all done here, and it's pretty evenly ranked. But obviously, there's a lot of do the jobs there, but pretty much everything else has about 3 in them besides quality that has 4. But what do you think about the list? Like, what do you think is probably going to be the most disagreeable one for the people watching?
It might be what you just said around that McCullough, because it's up to interpretation, isn't it? People might be going like, McCullough's, he's old, he's done, I wouldn't have him in my side, and they're not sort of considering what he's done in the 9 spot over the last sort of, 5 to 10 years. But then you might have people who are like, well, yeah, he's a quality 9, he has been a quality 9 all the way through his career, played really well at the Broncos, at the Knights, So I think that's going to be a really contentious issue, because it is up to your sort of opinion and how that you're reading this list.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that a lot of the time with the hookers specifically is that they are clear and defined as either do the job or as either quality or elite. Like, it's rather than a lot of the other ones where you kind of have a tier in between where you don't really want to put them with this guy and you don't want to put them with this guy, and they kind of be on their own. So it really feels unfair to rank them here and not there. But I think that with this one, it's actually quite, simply said, like, bang, they're straight.
The tiers are perfect. Everyone in their tiers is bang on, man, in my opinion.
I agree. But, anyway, guys, that's going to do us here for today. Obviously, thank you to the Weekly Rubdown for jumping on here, man.
Cheers, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you. Obviously, let everyone know where they can find you again.
Yep, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you get your podcasts, we'll be there. Chuck us in your lug holes, have a laugh, have a beer. It's good fun. Even if you don't play Supercoach, it's going to be a laugh anyway. And if you want to try draft, we're the people to listen to.
Well, I'm probably going to give it a crack this year, man. Like I said, I love my American sports, so I'm going to get into the draft, and you're the guys that I'm going to be looking at to sort me out in that regard, because it's a bit difficult to get into the drafting scene unless you know exactly what's going on. So definitely get around it. But that's going to do us here for today, guys. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here. Not too sure how long to go now until the season, but I know there's not long. That's all we need to say. We're doing every single position here. We've pretty much done them all by the time this comes out. But in the same sense, man, definitely start getting excited about the season. We've got vlogs coming out. We've got the live streams as per usual. We spoke to Toby Sexton the other day. We've got a couple of other players we're going to be speaking to in the near future. So check the notifications on. But I'm going to jump off for now, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.